Hello and welcome back to another coaching session from leadershipmentor.com. The last couple of weeks we've been talking about the 6 basic human needs, and we looked at some of those specifically and we said, how can we fulfill those needs that we have as individuals in the workplace? And really what we're talking about is how do we motivate individuals, right? How do we take those basic human needs that we have, we provide those for them, and when they feel fulfilled in those needs, that's a motivator for them to stay with the organization, maybe to work harder, to handle things in a much more professional way. So these are motivators that are very, very effective. So this week I want to talk about extrinsic versus intrinsic motivators. When we talk about extrinsic motivators, we're talking about some tangible thing that is outside of that individual. A very simple way to look at this is a cash prize or a trip, and we would provide that to the individual or to the team members as a reward for certain behavior and the outcome of that behavior. So we place this cash motivator, for example, out there, and if you behave in a certain way and that behavior results in a tangible outcome, you would be awarded that cash prize or that trip. So it's an external item that we put out there, a carrot, if you will, and that is a motivator for those individuals. Now, in contrast to that, intrinsic motivators are motivators that are really internal. So that's motivation that is driven by an interest or a desire that we have as individuals, and those exist within the individual. So we were talking about these 6 basic human needs, and that's really where we want to start in terms of how do we fill those needs and thus motivate our team members. I want to talk about one-on-ones, and this is really the core of our coaching program, is to develop what we call a communication plan. A primary part of that is developing a consistent method of doing one-on-ones, and within those one-on-ones, when we learn how to effectively coach and provide feedback, we start to learn what is it that our individual team members want and desire within that team. Once we know that, then we can start to fill those needs and desires on a regular basis. We've already talked about certainty, variety, and significance. Those are 3 of the 6 basic human needs. When we know that specifically what each individual really desires within that and to what degree, we can start to fill those needs. Some other very simple ways to look at intrinsic motivators is learning new things, for example. So once we sit down and over time understand what it is that this person wants to do and what they want to learn, we can start to put things in place to fill that desire that they have to learn new things. We can also look at creating a career path, for example. Now, not everybody wants a career path. Oftentimes, we have individuals that just want to function within the team and do the same position, but there's others that will want a career path, and so they'll want to see, how can I grow, learn new things, and start to develop my skills so that I can develop a career path. So we oftentimes as leaders have to really define what that career path is. So when we fill that need, we demonstrate that, we're talking about that with our individual team members in our one-on-ones, that becomes a very, very powerful intrinsic motivator for those team members. And then finally, recognition, and that's probably one of the most common ones that we can do, is within team meetings and within the organization as a whole, can we provide recognition that is in turn going to motivate that person to continue to do that behavior that they're recognized for. So that's really it this week on motivators and intrinsic and extrinsic motivators. And I just want you to remember that oftentimes it doesn't take a huge budget for us to create cash prizes and rewards to effectively motivate our team members. Once we've developed and put in place a communication plan where we're meeting on a regular basis with our team members, we can start to understand what it is that they really desire within their position and then start to motivate them by filling those needs and desires that they have. That is it for this week. Please feel free to share this with people you feel may benefit from this knowledge, and have a great week.